and gentlemen, can I please have your attention? I've just been handed an urgent and horrifying news story. And I need all of you to stop what you're doing and listen.
Oh, I didn't know about the opening statement. Hey guys, Ty Simpson's our starter. How's that? Pretty good? Okay, let it ride. What do we got?
Why is Ty Simpson your starter?
There we go. Good follow-up. Ty did a really nice job of, taking care of the football. I think number one, I think Ty is an incredible playmaker on the move, and I think from there, guys like that, you worry, are they going to be able to train themselves to be able to take care of the football? And I just even the room in general, Ty led that charge, but Ty didn't throw any picks last week. He's thrown one all camp. We've thrown 4 total this camp, and this spring, I think at this time we had thrown 15. So I think in general the guys are understanding the concepts and control the offense a lot better as a room, and Ty was the best at that. And so his ability to command and create out of the pocket I thought was the best, make great decisions, and he's just much cleaner on some of the things that you expect an older quarterback to be able to do.
You mentioned the interceptions. Are you still seeing the quarterbacks, Ty specifically, push the ball down the field in fall camp?
Yeah, we are, absolutely. Let's see, I don't know what today was, but we'd had 6 practices in a row where we hit our explosive number. So we've certainly been able to get the ball down the field, which is great because I think our defense does a good job of trying to limit those, so which was a lot better. I don't know if we had 5 days of that all of spring. So 6 in a row, I think we had 8 out of 10 practices, so we were rolling a little bit.
Brian, what was the message to Austin and Keelan when, I guess, moving forward when Ty gave an official start now?
Well, I think for those guys, I know, they have to continue to progress. I think that for quarterbacks in general, any position is tough, but the development of a quarterback to continue to move forward during a season, I think is the toughest thing. That's the thing. You have to find ways to generate both coaching staff-wise to create looks and opportunities that those guys don't just pause. Young quarterbacks are really talented like Austin and Keelan. What you don't want is that the starters named and all this improvement that they've been making to this point just comes to a screeching halt. So that part they totally understood. I know they're up to the task, and I think there's a huge part of that is just the relationships and the bond that's been built in that room. I told the guys, I thought one of the things that stood out to me the most about that room was there never was this feeling of somebody conceding. So Ty's going to be the guy. There was never an approach by any of the 3 guys that it was it's him or him. At the same time, it was all organic. Guys were able to focus on their job and just be the best quarterback they can be. And I think that they all developed because of the type of room that we have. So tip of the cap to those guys. I don't think that's coaching. I think that's just the guys doing a really good job of just focusing on themselves. And, I think Austin and Keelan will be up to that.
Have we decided upon number 2 yet?
Nope. We're still working through all that. Those guys will continue to rep. I think you'd be pigeonholing yourself a little bit on reps and opportunity for both those guys to get better.
Ty gets the job that's announced to the team. What's your message to him after that?
Just don't change anything. We still got a lot of stuff to clean up. Remember what got you the job, the things that, you're a challenge to improve on after spring and that you did do to this point in camp. Nothing has to change. So I think he's just got to keep improving on the things that he knows he has to work on. And this is just, it's announcement. It's a starting point. If you have any kind of finality to this announcement, whether you're the backup or the starter, I think, they're going to rob themselves of some really good opportunities.
What was the team's response to Ty being the starter?
Supportive. I think, the guys have been supportive of all 3 guys, but certainly Ty's shown the most leadership and command, so I don't think anybody was caught off guard by that. But I thought, we did a good job as a coaching staff. I'm not trying to pat ourselves on the back, but trying to let it play its course and make sure the team saw Ty earn it. I think that's important for Ty, too, that he can come out there and his teammates know that he went and earned that spot. And they've been great, offense and defense.
How would you describe Ty's leadership, his style?
Ty's pretty fiery. He's a pretty fiery guy. I've really been impressed how he's been able to kind of calm that. I always thought I was wildly impressed in my time with Geno Smith. He's a fiery competitor as well, but I always told Ty, Geno's ability to get back to room temperature quickly and be able to process and be an elite quarterback was something that I was always just amazed by. And I told Ty, that's what you got to be, is a guy that can have composure and realize there's different times that, release points. You score a touchdown, you want to go crazy, right? But up to then, you just got to be a smooth operator.
got to watch a lot of Ty's film, I assume, from last year and previous years.
Yep.
Where do you think he's made the biggest growth, and where do you still sort of want to see him continue to grow?
I would say poise and decision making. I think that his eyes would drop and he would give up on stuff really, really quickly because he is so athletic and can move. And now I just feel like, he's very poised back there. I think anytime you have a guy that can balance those two things, be an explosive athlete out of the pocket, but also know that he doesn't have to do it every time, I think that's the thing you love to see out of a guy like Ty.
Kind of threw Keelan Russell into the fire. I mean, immediately as a freshman, put him in a quarterback battle and things like that. What have you seen from Keelan as he kind of approached the pressure of a quarterback battle almost immediately on his arrival here, and how have you seen him grow?
Coach Sheridan and Coach DeBoer did a phenomenal job recruiting Key, and I thought their assessment when I got here was spot on. That he's a very composed player for a young player, and even when it's not perfect and things aren't going Key's way, I think he's able to just slow the game down. And I think that that's something that's, somewhat innate that he can just do. And so I think when you can build and then you continue to build on the knowledge base and understanding the system, he'll just keep getting better. So he's a really, really calm, excellent player with great vision.
How has Ty been in the quick game, just making the right reads with the underneath stuff?
Today specifically, I thought, we had some sequencing stuff where we're lining up in second and extra long or second and long and trying to get a first down with 3 downs. And quick game showed up in those scenarios, and he hit every one of them. So I was really impressed, just his ability to get the ball out, make decisive decisions, have his eyes in the right spot. And a lot of times quick game just comes down to that, being decisive and making sure you're reading the right spot.
What can you do from a leadership standpoint over the next couple of weeks or going into the first game after being named starter?
Just keep being him, honestly. I think if he started acting out of character or doing some things that he hadn't done to this point, I think that would be the red flag for the team or the guys. I think that he's established the type of person he is in the locker room. He's known these guys for a long time, and just keep being himself. My advice to him was just be authentic. As long as he does that, locker room has the best read for that. They know when guys aren't, and just stay in the wheelhouse.
Right, he's the one quarterback in this group that the staff did not recruit. How did he gain your trust, Galen's trust overall?
Well, I think that's a great question, and I will say this. One of my main messages to Ty was that he did earn it, and that I thought that he was a little bit careless with the football, and that was something that I wanted to make sure that as a decision maker, with a good team and a lot of great supporting cast around him, you just want to make sure you can distribute the ball. And I thought for him, calming the game down, slowing it down, and being authentic in the meeting room, like just not trying to say things to impress a coach or like say something to show that you understand the coverage, asking genuine questions. I just being in the meeting room with him every day, I trust him in that regard, and I think that was a huge part for our growth.
After the scrimmage, that by the second scrimmage, on his name, the quarterback. So kind of why was yesterday the right time? Was it that he showed enough in that first scrimmage that made you say you trust him?
Yeah, it was. I really felt like he had showed enough through camp to be, kind of the dominant player in the room, and I felt like it was the best thing for the team just to move forward, and get the guys going and give some establishment to that position so the team could get behind him.
You mentioned Geno Smith, but going back to Jake Hain or Michael Penix, what's the common thread that you need to see in your starting quarterback, and how does Simpson have that?
Decision making and vision. Those are the two things, and for Ty, that's the thing is he's got good vision, and his decision making has went off the charts compared to what it was, and he just keeps doing that and being himself. He'll be a really, really good quarterback. Okay, thanks everybody.
Has it kind of sunk in yet? How does it feel to be the starting quarterback of the Crimson Tide?
Yeah, it's a dream come true. I came here out of high school wanting to be the starting quarterback, and I'm just excited, and I can't, thank my teammates enough for making me look good, and I'm ready for the opportunity.
How happy are you that you sat back for 3 years, sat as a backup? How happy are you now that you made the decision to stay with Alabama?
Yeah, I think it's abnormal for sure to, not transfer in today's day and age. But, I don't regret it at all. I love being here. I love my teammates. I love this university. I learned a lot from the guys that played before me, like Bryce and Jalen. I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for them, and then the guys behind me, like Keelan and Austin. I think that they pushed me and elevated my game to game that it's never seen before. So we're going to continue to grow each and every day as a quarterback room as a group, and I'm excited about it.
Tell us about the moment finding out and what that was like.
Yeah, so we had a quarterback meeting, and it was just us three, and then Grubb, Coach Sheridan, and Coach DeBoer were in there, and they were just like, guys, hey, we're gonna name Tyler starter today, and we went from there, and they were really appreciative of me, and congratulated me. Austin and Keelan did, and they just told me to go get it, and like I said, I can't thank those guys enough because I wouldn't be here if they didn't push me every single day.
What were you feeling in that moment?
It was surreal for sure. It's something I've dreamed about, since I came here. But I'm not going to sit here and say nothing I didn't expect. I feel like I worked my tail off for it. And I'm just excited for the opportunity to go out there with my guys and compete each and every day.
How's the relationship been like with you and Coach Grubb? How do you feel like you've been flourishing underneath him?
Yeah, that's my guy, man. He came in here, and I knew him a little bit when he first got here back last year. But the whole Seahawks thing happened. But when he came back, man, he's been so great. I've learned so much ball from him and Coach Sheridan, and they've just been in unison when it comes to everything, to the detail, the routes, to the run mesh or whatever. And I learned a lot of ball from those guys, and so I feel like that helps me as a quarterback, being a coach's son, and just trying to make sure that I put the team in the best position to win.
How much has it helped you or held you back that you've been dealing with a different offensive coordinator every single year since you've been here?
Yeah, I wouldn't say it held me back at all. I think about the guys when I first got here. I had Bill O'Brien, I had Alex Mortensen, who's a quarterback coach and offensive coordinator at UAB, and then Derek Dooley. Learned a ton of ball from those guys and Bryce, and then Tommy Reese, John McNulty. And then Coach Dooley was there my second year. I learned a different type of offense and learned just different types of schemes or whatever. And then, my third year, I have Coach DeBoer and Coach Sheridan and then Coach Grubb this year. And, I don't feel like it's something bad at all. I've learned a lot of stuff from those guys and a lot of different stuff that I've taught, the other guys of like, hey, this is how we did it in the past, maybe that'll help you, read it a certain type of way or whatever. So, I wouldn't say by any means it's hurt me. I think it's helped me by a lot.
Who did you call?
How is this quarterback battle different than the ones that you've done?
It's different just because, one, I'm older. But it just is a different type of group. Those guys have helped me a lot, and they were just great guys or whatever. Being older definitely helps, and they push me every single day, so I can't thank them enough.
Were you more confident because of having gone through similar experiences?
I definitely feel like I have, just because I know what to expect, and I know, hey, the mistakes I did last time. I'm gonna make sure I'm not gonna do that again. And just being older and confident and understanding like, hey, I'm just gonna be the best I can every single day, and my teammates, man, they gave me a lot of confidence, just in and out every day, just making plays for me and blocking. I can't thank those guys enough.
Ty, I imagine your phone's been blowing up a little bit in the past day or so. Who are some folks that you heard from, former teammates, different people that really stood out to you?
Greg McElroy texted me, which is really cool. I really look up to him a lot. A bunch of my family, a bunch of my friends, a bunch of guys who transferred out have reached out. It means a lot because I'm a big, relationship person. I'm a people person. So, guys who left, I really try to connect with them in a lot of different ways. I may not understand why they left, but I just want them to know that they can always count on me and understand that I'll be there for them, anything they need. And I think I take that into my game too, that, understand that like, hey, I'm going to be the best teammate I can be, and make sure that I'm going to do everything I can to help our team win.
Who was your first call or text when you found out?
Definitely my family, my dad, and I think my mom and dad started crying or whatever. So it was surreal. So I called my dad later that night, and then I took a nap. So.
Did you call Book, or did he call you?
Yeah. So Book, I texted Book, and he called me, and he was like, "I better be at the draft, like you were with me." So it'll be a fun year for sure. I'm excited to watch him play for the Cowboys.
Ty, take me through Alabama's wide receiver. What have you seen this spring or this fall from room guys like Isaiah Horton?
Yeah, man, we got a bunch of studs, man. I'm really excited about that group. We got a transfer from Isaiah from Miami, who I knew, in Nashville. Germ's coming off a big year, who I think he's going to have a better year. Even the same with Ryan. He's older now, bigger and stronger. Then you got guys like Derek Meadows, Latsir Brooks, Rico Scott, who are stepping up in big ways. And then you got Cole Adams, and Bach is transferring from defense to offense. Man, those guys are doing a great job, and they're really detailed in their routes. And Shep has done a great job just making sure that even on pass plays that they're or run plays that they're blocking and being selfless, man. So I'm really excited about that group, and it's my job to get those good players the ball.
What will go into your process over the next couple of weeks now that you've been named starter?
Yeah, really nothing's going to change. I'm going to make sure I go through my process of, just being the best I can be. I got to make sure that my teammates can count on me and make sure they have confidence in me. And I'm going to make sure that I can, give us the best chance to win. And, whether that's handing the ball off 50 times or throwing it 50 times, I got to understand my job and make sure that I give us the best chance to win on Saturdays.
Other than being just simply older, how do you feel you're a different quarterback than the last time you went through a competition like this?
Yeah, I've talked to Coach Saban a lot. He always would tell me, don't worry about the outside noise. Don't worry about external factors. Don't worry about anybody else. Just be the best you can be. And I really didn't understand that when I was a young guy. I would always be worried about, somebody else or somebody at, a different type of school or whatever, or be looking somewhere else and, be like, man, I could have played there or whatever. But, he always kept saying, just focus on yourself. Focus on the best you can be. And then, when Coach DeBoer came, he talked about going 1-0 and, winners win because that's what winners do. And I had to sit back and pray about it and just think to myself like, man, like I got to do something. I can't keep going down this road of just worrying and having anxiety or whatever. So I sat back in my room one night and I was like, man, I'm gonna pray. I'm gonna give everything I got to the Lord and just make sure I understand that like, hey, that I'm just gonna be the best player, the best Ty Simpson I can be. And I think these last couple of years, that's what I've really tried to do. Just make sure like, hey, don't do anything fancy, man. Like even though it's the University of Alabama, just play football and just be the best version of yourself you can be. So
what stood out to you in those prayers, or what kind of revelations did you have in those moments?
I remember my sophomore year when it happened, really. It was after a spring scrimmage. I came in, I didn't really do a lot. I came in, I just started crying. I was just like, man, like what is going on, man? Like what, I just don't feel like it's not fun to me anymore. And my dad asked me, he was like, man, like how's your faith doing? What are you doing to make sure that you give everything to trust in the Lord? And I had to sit back and I was like, man, like you're right. Like I'm more worried about how people perceive me in football than they do, how I walk in my faith and how I am as a person, man. So, football means a lot to me. Don't get me wrong. I make sure that I'm gonna do everything because he's giving me this platform and he's giving me this opportunity. But no matter how many touchdowns I throw, no matter how many wins I have at the University of Alabama, I'm a Christian first, and I know that I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for him.
You mentioned Coach Saban. Have you heard from him yet?
No, but I can't wait to see him though. I'm gonna tell him thank you. And he means a lot to me. I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for his guidance and everything he's done for me.
What are some areas that the film study and meetings that you think you can still grow and develop?
Yeah, I feel like I can still grow and develop every day of just understanding the offense better, understanding defensive coordinators, and just understanding, hey, this is why we do it. So I'm gonna continue to grow with that. And Coach Grubb, meet with Coach Sheridan or whatever, and just make sure that I understand why, and make sure that we give the best chance to win on Saturdays.
We're going to spend a lot of time analyzing your game and looking at all those clips. How would you describe yourself as a quarterback?
Yeah, man. I feel like I'm a dual threat guy. I can sit in the pocket or I can escape and make plays. But I also I think a underrated part of my game is that I'm going to do what it takes to win. So, I'm going to do the gritty stuff. I'm going to make sure, I'm going to make sure we get the first down when it's 4th and 3. You know what I mean? So, like I said, man, those guys make me look good in that locker room, with our wide receiver group, our running back group, our O-line, man. I'm so excited about these guys, man. And they make me look good, so I got to make sure that I give them everything I got. So that's what, I tell them every day, that when I go in the huddle, like, man, I'm going to go hard for you today. Like, I'm going to be, we talk about being unbreakable all the time, and the only way I'm unbreakable is if we're all unbreakable together as an offensive team.
Ty, there's been a lot of talk about, the gimme offense, those 5-yard, 10-yard plays that Coach DeBoer says, should be completed 100% of the time. What's kind of how has that been explained to you, especially with, the wide receiver room that you have? Like, how have they approached what they expect out of a quarterback this year?
Yeah, I think it's just make the easy one easy. We got, like you said earlier, man, we got a deep, wide receiver room, and then we got a deep running back room, and then we have the best offensive line in the country, man. So why would I make things harder than what they are? You know what I mean? So in the defense, make makes me check the ball down, give the ball space to Jam Miller, get the ball in space to Ryan, get the ball in space to those guys. Like, just go let them work, man. It's not a hard game. We try to make it harder than what it is. Just take what they give you, get the first down, and then go from there. But, man, those guys do a really good job, and I'm excited for them, and I can't, wait to see how they do. Thank you. Appreciate you guys.
Congrats.
Thank you.